Let's get something straight about the ceasefire deal that Donald Trump has called epic and has been praised by Biden, President Macron of France, most of the media, and pretty much everyone else. First of all, it's not a deal. It's an extortion by a criminal mafia terror group, Hamas, who kidnap children and babies and then demand convicted murderers to be released as ransom for these little babies. So you have an Israeli baby, Kvir Bibas, aged 1, and his brother, Ariel, aged 4, who may now be released in exchange for dozens of adult murderers, some of whom have boasted about killing babies and children in the past. And they may not even be alive. Israel may just get their dead bodies back in return for these releasing convicted murderers. So this is not a deal. It's appeasement that boosts Hamas. I'm very disappointed with Donald Trump. I think it will go down as a historic, terrible blunder by the US, who have basically appeased not just Hamas, but they've appeased their backers, the regimes in Iran and Qatar and Egypt. Instead of forcing those regimes to force Hamas to release their kidnapped children and victims and hostages unconditionally, they have given in to them. Another thing, Western commentators keep on saying that Israel cannot defeat Hamas because you cannot defeat an idea. But this is nonsense, okay? Fascism is an idea. Communism is an idea. ISIS is an idea. The West has defeated fascism and communism. Of course, the ideologies continue, but the Soviet Union is no more. Nazi Germany is no more. So the only people who are happy with this ceasefire, or have reason to be happy, are in fact the murderers and kidnappers of Hamas. And it's not surprising that one of their senior officials in Qatar, the regime that sponsors them, gave a televised address calling the ceasefire a miraculous achievement and promising more October 7th attacks in future. In Gaza itself, gunmen have been shooting their guns into the air, glorifying violence and celebrating. They look well-fed, well-clothed, and they have smartphones. So much for the utter blood libel that Israel has been conducting some kind of genocide. These are terrorists with smartphones. They are not victims of a genocide. Then you have the media. So, for example, the Washington Post yesterday headlined, Israel-Hamas ceasefire deal brings hope. And then they repeated the word hope throughout the piece. Well, no, the only hope is for Hamas. You know, a few weeks ago, when President Assad was overthrown in Syria, the very same diplomats and media in the West were claiming that life wasn't so bad in Syria, we couldn't get rid of Assad, and we just had to put up with him, we had to rehabilitate Assad. Well, a few days later, when they saw the people of Syria celebrating Assad being thrown out of office, the same Western diplomats and media were saying, of course, we always knew that people wanted Assad out. Now, if they actually pushed Hamas or allowed Israel to push Hamas out of power in Gaza, although Hamas does have supporters in Gaza, I can guarantee you that many, many Gazans will also celebrate, just as people in Syria celebrated. So, of course, we're all happy that some poor, innocent Israeli hostages are going to be released after almost 500 days in abject, appalling conditions and torture and harassment and abuse they've been suffering. But, you know, we will be happier if all the hostages are being released unconditionally, because Donald Trump and Joe Biden have actually put pressure on Qatar and Iran and Egypt and Hamas instead of placating them and giving in to their demands. So it's a happy moment when hostages are released, but let's not pretend, as Trump is, that this is some kind of epic deal.